Honorable Minister, Mr. D.K. Shivakumar, dignitaries on the dais, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to thank Mr. D.K. Shivakumar for all his support and blessing to our institution, and he has helped us to reach where we have reached. I'm extremely grateful to you, sir. In the next few minutes, I just want to talk about unhealthy part of healthcare industry, the problems this industry is facing, and how right policies can change all these difficulties. First of all, economy of 20th century was driven by machines which address the human toil, but economy of 21st century will be driven by health sector, because this is the industry which is going to create the maximum number of jobs across the world. As every industry matures, it hires less people. And creating jobs are very important for every part of the world. And that is the only thing which can make a stable society. In the last 5 years, only industry which created jobs in the US is the health sector. In India, unlike all the industries you all run, for 1 crore rupees turnover in healthcare industry, we need to hire 250 people. There are very few industries which hires that many people. Your industry hires intelligent, very skilled people. And majority of our people in healthcare industry, there are very few skilled people. Majority of them are semi-skilled and unskilled. So for a country's inclusive growth, government should come up with right policies to drive the healthcare industry. It will make the country healthy as well as drive the world economy. Now, what is the problem in healthcare industry? Everyone thinks healthcare industry is all about doctors, but very few people realize that behind every doctor, there are 5 technicians and paramedics. And these are the ones who take care of the patients when doctors are sleeping. But unfortunately, in our country, so far, the policies are only favoring doctors. This is the Bureau of Labor Statistics data from United States. Out of the 20 fastest growing occupations in United States, 15 are in healthcare. Unfortunately, none of these 15 training programs exist in our country. And this is the best way we can train our young people to be global citizens and find well-paying jobs across the world. So policies has to change. Nursing profession is dying in our country. Within the next 3 to 4 years, you will not find nurses in Indian hospitals. Admission to nursing colleges have gone down by 50% across the country. Why? Because nursing profession has no career progression. Today, any young person wanting to choose a profession, they would like to know, what is my end point? Where can I reach? And we have created the structure in a manner that nurses can never become nurse anesthetists, nurse practitioners, nurse intensivists, or any of those specialties which is commonly available across the world. In the United States, a nurse anesthetist can anesthetize a patient for a major heart operation without the presence of a doctor anesthetist. But in our country, legally, a nurse is not allowed to give an intravenous injection without the presence of a doctor. A nurse can be punished if she prescribes any medications, even if she has 20 years of experience in critical care unit. So young people are finding it's a dead-end job, and we are going to face a massive crisis in this country. Every 10 minutes, a young girl dies in this country during childbirth. Childbirth is not a disease. A pregnant lady is not suffering from a disease. She's not a patient. But every 10 minutes, one young lady dies somewhere in the village. 3 lakh children die the day they are born. Why? Because we have created first world regulatory structure with the third world infrastructure. In good old days, a doctor or a nurse was allowed legally to practice lot of things for the safe childbirth. A midwife is allowed to do a lot of things. A MBBS doctor is allowed to give anesthesia, or a nurse is allowed to give anesthesia, and even MBBS doctor is even allowed to perform a cesarean section. But last 10 years, all the courts across the country have clamped down on any doctor without a postgraduate degree to perform any procedure for which he doesn't have a postgraduate degree. Our law has reduced the MBBS doctor to the level of a housewife with some skills. We produce 28 million babies a year. 20% of the childbirth requires cesarean section. That means technically we need to do about 5.6 million cesarean sections per year. To do 5.6 million cesarean sections, we need to have at least 1.5 lakh gynecologists and 1.5 lakh anesthetists. But we only have 35,000 gynecologists in the country. On one end, our government is spending 35 to 40,000 crore rupees every year from the NRHM budget to reduce the maternal mortality. On the other end, there are legally permissible people do not exist to take care of this childbirth. It is pointless spending money unless we open the tap to train more specialists. Is it that difficult to train doctors? It is not difficult. There are more than 2 lakh doctors at any given time in this country who spend 2 years to 5 years mugging multiple choice questions to get into one of those PG seats. Without a PG seat, a doctor is, for all the practical purposes, cannot participate in the game of healthcare. Now, what is the problem? US has 19,000 undergraduation seats and 32,000 post-graduation seats. All over the world, the number of PG seats are double the number of undergraduation seats. We have 50,000 undergraduation seats in medical colleges. We have the largest number of medical seats in the world, but we have only 14,000 undergraduation seats. So in the process, we do not produce gynecologists, anesthetists, pediatricians, and the maternal mortality, infant mortality doesn't come down. But is it that difficult to get the specialist trained? No, it is not. There is an organization called College of Physicians and Surgeons in Maharashtra. You can see the photo of this university in Maharashtra. This university was established 105 years ago, and this was the first university in this part of the world which was giving diploma in gynecology, diploma in pediatrics, diploma in anesthesia. So every hospital in the country could have trained manpower to protect these babies and the pregnant ladies. But 15 years ago, the Medical Council decided to de-recognize the course. And in the process, the entire edifice of training intermediate level specialists vanished, and the maternal mortality today is 200 per 1 lakh childbirth, which is more or less equivalent to some of the sub-Sahara African countries. Why this doesn't change? It doesn't change because we, the citizens of this country, we don't care because it doesn't affect us directly. It is a poor girl dying in a village, who cares? Unless the civil society starts asking right questions, nothing will change. I'm very happy to say that Karnataka state will be the 3rd state in the country today. The cabinet is in the process of recognizing degree from College of Physicians and Surgeons against the dictate by the Medical Council. Karnataka government decided that enough is enough. We need to have more doctors. If you look at the top 10 causes of death in India, look at the top cause of the death in India is disease of the heart. That is why everybody likes me. Then diarrheal disease, chronic lower respiratory disease, brain stroke and lung problem, TB, low birth weight, liver disease, mental health, and accidents. These are the top 10 causes of death. None of those top 10 causes of death can be trained by a doctor today without a post-graduation qualification. And I'll give you the data of how many PG seats we have. We are 3 times more vulnerable for heart disease than Americans. Indians develop heart attack at a much younger age than Europeans and other Caucasians. US has 781 PG seats to train cardiologists, and we have 246 PG seats. We need to have 2,000 to 3,000 PG seats. We have a very high incidence of blood-related problems. US has 523 PG seats to train hematologists. We only have 13 PG seats to train hematologists. If somebody develops a bone cancer, we have to run all over the country to chase one of those 13 people who are trained every year. And you can look at the numbers. We are the diabetic capital of the country. We are the diabetic capital of the world. We need so many diabetologists, but there are only 50 PG seats to train diabetologists in the country. And that is the reason why there is a huge disparity in healthcare access by the haves and the have-nots. And today, because of scarcity, you are expected to pay more money, because whenever there is a scarcity, the value of the degree and the value of the specialist keeps increasing. Outstanding doctors across the world generally come from deprived background, because these are the children who have the fire in the belly, who can work for 24 hours and change the rules of the game. But today, these children from this deprived background are scared to join medical college, because they feel that after MBBS degree, what do I do? I have no future, I have no opportunity to become a specialist. And if I don't become a specialist, I can't earn my living. So 5 years ago, we started a scholarship program in West Bengal. We wanted 2,000 children from villages of West Bengal to join the medical college every year. So when they are 13-year-old, they should commit to us that they will become doctors. Then we give them a scholarship of $5 to $10 a month, and we mentor them. Our idea is that these children will join the medical college, and a good number of them have joined by merit, and we mentor them. Karnataka State took the initiative of starting a Yashaswini Insurance. We all don't know how lucky we are to be born as a common man in this state. Somebody has a heart problem in Karnataka State. He can go through the Yashaswini Insurance. He can go through Vajpayee Arogyasri Insurance. He can go to Nagara Yashaswini. He can go through ESI scheme. He can go. It is impossible for someone not to be covered by some type of insurance or not. And most of us think this is the way elsewhere in the country. We run hospitals in 26 cities across the country. If you are born in Eastern India or Northern India, I'm sorry, there is virtually no government schemes available to help you. You have to fend for yourself. And we live in the same country. Why there is such a disparity? Half the patients I see in our hospital in Bangalore come from Eastern India. They travel for 3 days, 4 days by train. When the train gets delayed, it doesn't get delayed by hours. It gets delayed by days. Still they come here. Why nothing happens? These are the questions we have to ask ourselves. Aren't we part of the same country? Why people in that state do not ask the right questions? You must be thinking that hospitals, private hospitals, are very, very expensive. And hospitals must be making a lot of money. I just want, you're running the industry. I will ask you a question. How much you think it costs for us to pay the electricity bill per day for each general ward bed in the country? How much you think we will be paying every day for keeping a patient on a general ward bed, just the electricity tariff? It comes to 550 rupees to 600 rupees per day. Why it is so high? Because all over the country, the policymakers think there are various tariffs for power, and hospitals are clubbed with the shopping malls and movie theaters. Like we are in entertainment industry. And we approached the state government here, our electricity regulatory authority, and Karnataka State is the first state in the country which agreed to reduce the electricity tariff for the hospitals. This happened 8 months ago, and now we have represented in all the other states saying that Karnataka state has reduced the tariff. Why don't you do it? Just want to tell you how the cost structure works in the government and private sector. This is the newspaper cutting. Safdarjung Hospital in Delhi was planning to add 800-bed annex with the investment of 1,332 crore rupees. It comes to about 1.3 crore rupees per bed. This is the government hospital. And we built a hospital in Mysore. There are 100 towns in India with a population of 500,000 to 1 million where there is no heart hospital. They can't afford a heart hospital. We worked with L&T. We told them that we would like to build a 300-bed super specialty heart hospital and equip it for $6 million. That's about 45 crore rupees. That's about 25% of the market rate. And we also told them that it should be built in 6 months. So L&T took the challenge. They made this drawing. In this hospital, the air conditioning is only in the operating room and the ICU. The rest of the area is not centrally air conditioned. We live in houses without central air conditioning. Why should a hospital ward be central air conditioned? Central air conditioning doesn't prevent infection in hospitals. Most of the time, it is a cause of infection. So we have saved on all these, the way the hospitals are built, and L&T managed to build it in 8 months, and we spent $7 million. But our next project, we'll be able to do it within $6 million. This is the power of private sector, which has the independence and the freedom to do a lot of these amazing things. The next big thing in healthcare across the world is not going to be a magic pill or a fastest scanner. It is going to be making hospitals safer for the patients. You must be thinking that for a patient, hospital is the safest place. It is not the safest place. You forget about Indian hospitals. Look at the US hospitals, which are considered as some of the best hospitals in the world. If 200 people spend one night in US hospital, one of them died due to medical error. It is not medical negligence, medical error. Getting admitted to an American hospital is 10 times riskier than skydiving. I don't want to talk about Indian hospitals. Why hospitals are not safe? It is not safe primarily because processes are not followed and protocols are not followed. Now, how is it going to change? And the change is going to happen in India, because today we have phenomenal devices like iPads where you can put the protocol and you can replace all the charts with the iPad, and the iPad will ensure that the right kind of things are done to the patient at the right time, and it's an excellent communicating tool with the Wi-Fi network. So this is just a pilot we have launched in our ICUs in Narayan Hrudayalaya. Now, we have started a hospital in Cayman Island, and when a patient is getting treated at 12 o'clock at night at the Cayman Island hospital, where we don't have that many people because it's night, very few hospitals do have huge workforce at night. It is 11 o'clock during the daytime here. So doctors and nurses sitting in Bangalore can take care of the patient in Cayman Island. And all this transformation will happen from India because in the US, developing any new product or a software for hospitals are extremely, extremely expensive because of the data sanctity. In US, if you put the patient data on an iPad or a laptop, and if you lose the iPad or a laptop, minimum settlement cost per iPad is $12 million. And if you want to put the patient data on a laptop or a computer which doesn't belong to the system, you need the patient signature, patient's wives, patient neighbors, and the patient dog's signature, without which you can't put the data. In that kind of an environment, they cannot come up with the innovation. So Indian IT professionals, Indian doctors, Indian hospitals are in a phenomenal position to change the entire process of delivering healthcare. My last slide, I just want to end my talk stating that there is a hurricane which is going to hit the medical industry. And that hurricane is going to be the malpractice compensation. This is the paper cutting which showed one hospital had a problem with one patient and the patient died, and the Supreme Court offered a malpractice compensation of altogether, including the interest, 12 crore rupees. And this kind of a malpractice compensation, if it is not capped, will cause major problem to the industry, because if the Supreme Court has given 12 crore rupees compensation for one death in one part of the country, it will become a norm. This was a problem in US around 20 years ago, when malpractice compensation became so high that the gynecologists stopped conducting deliveries. Because 3 months of salary of a doctor was to be paid to the insurance company to get the malpractice coverage. So they thought it is not worthwhile. So government had to airlift the pregnant ladies to major cities for delivery.